mad.
Initiating stress test. Applying increasing levels of pressure. Structural integrity will be tested. Failure is imminent. Dripment.
I'm mad.
Initiating stress test. Applying increasing levels of pressure. Structural integrity will be tested. Failure is imminent. Dripment.
Yo, what it do, what it is and what it ain't. Feedback stream 102. We're in the hundreds. There we go, number 2. We have about 13 tracks in here. I want to make sure I have some time to give good feedback on each one. Submit your songs for feedback for the next stream here on my Discord. It is hashtag live wip-feedback. First up in line is Chronix Dubs with Bad Boy VIP. I'll be in the chat throughout. like this video, comment on this video, and hit me up if you have any production questions in the future. Let's get into the first track. What do you do, everybody? We out here, 69 in the chat, going crazy, lazy. VIP. Hey. Bad. Chronic Stubs, nicely done. That was fun. Bad Boy VIP. See, the thing is we're getting it done on some cool function style. Very stompy. The main bass is pretty wide. So the stereo image is filled uniquely. You know, we have one bass in the middle, one bass on the sides. It feels cool. Main thing is that it gets pretty repetitive over time. There's not much. There is movement, but there's not enough movement. We need to make sure that things stay interesting over time, and we almost get surprised as things progress. The phrases here get a bit repetitive. We're going to dig into them. VIP. So it's basically the same bass playing. It's kind of changing in rhythm a little bit, but the main tone is there. We need like another bass. There needs to be a conversation between this bass and another bass. Maybe this bass and his girlfriend, maybe this bass and his best friend, and they need to be different. Maybe this bass is the low, mid, grungy bass, and then the other bass could be like a higher frequency bass, or a bass that's doing something completely different. This is going like bump, 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 bumps, kind of going fast. We can have a bass that's going long and slow, and we can go back and forth between something that's long to something that's relatively faster. And then you're just adding more movement and making things progress over time, and it'll just be proper to have some phrasing like that. Otherwise, things will get stale and energy will decrease as time progresses. The sub is pretty static. It's like doing the same thing. If there's some pitch bend in the sub and it starts to move around and bend around, it will be very impactful and very nice. So you can try to pitch bend your sub. Be cool. These sounds are sick right here. They're almost kind of in the background though. They should be more dominant and prominent and upfront in the mix. you want to turn them up with compression, or you want to put it more in the middle, mono, just so that it starts to, get up there. It's kind of empty. There should be more things in the background, almost like atmospheres or risers, things to moving in the background while this is playing, and it kind of will set a soundscape, like an environment for the song to be placed in and chilling. It lives in its own little space, so you can really experiment with different atmospheres and textures and soundscapes to put in the background. You can fade them and have them rise up and fall down. We kind of want things to be moving, with the basses. They need to be flowing with your basses. I think that's about it. Call response is really helpful. Just proper phrasing. 4-bar phrase, call response fill. You can start from there and then just develop over time. Watch my call and response video. Type in Dripment call and response, and you can learn some techniques. I will make another one soon, an updated one, show multiple examples. But you really just want to get into that composition, or else over time, it's like we already heard the bass already too much. So he's like losing its value. And we got to keep all the basses at high value. They need to be new and fresh every time we hear them. Or you got to just do a lot of automation in your basses over time so that there's enough changes and movement and differences in bass. Yeah. All right. Very good. On to Looter. Guillotine. Look at that alien. That is an alien demon. And you never seen it till you seen it, Tell you right now. Guillotine, let's get it done.
It gladdens me to know that Odin prepares for a feast. Soon I shall be drinking ale from curved horns. This hero that comes into Valhalla does not lament his death. And I welcome the Valkyries to summon me home!
Says Lazy in the chat. That's a Guillotine by Looter. Let's go ahead and look at the alien once more. I'm saying, cool. This is decent. I actually had to listen to the song at a very low volume because a lot of the frequencies are turned up it's like we're pulling up the frequencies with the compression, and it's starting to sound a bit harsh. Also, there's a lack of dynamics. So once things are really loud and they stay really loud, our ears kind of start to adjust to it, and it doesn't have the same impact. But things are really loud, and then maybe just for half a bar or for a full bar, it gets silent, and then we go back to the loud. That huge dynamic shift will add more impact and more energy in the later phrases. It's going to help. Because without that, we just have essentially almost a straight line of sound, and the basses start to just lose value. They decrease over time, all that energy, and we need things to really stay high energy when we're in this type of heavy bass music. Mixing is important. We need to turn down the harsh frequencies in the 1000 hertz before we pull them up with the compression. That's going to be important. Otherwise, things are going to start to sound overcompressed and a little bit thin and harsh. There's plugins too, like Soothe, that you can add that will really help with harsh frequencies, and I really recommend use it. I use it constantly, and I think that it's going to be a game changer if you start to put it on your regular basses, individual basses, and you can put it on the groups. You can even put it on your buses and your master if you do it properly. Let's go ahead and listen to this intro too.
The hero that comes in the
This thing in the background that
is for a feast. The hero that comes in the Valhalla is not limited down.
kind of sounds out of place with this super dark, heavy, evil intro. Is that Jesse from Breaking Bad?
The hero that comes in the Valhalla is not limited.
No. I thought that was Jesse. That's cool. Yeah, these are good vocals. Nice bit. Right here, though, it sounds very harsh, very loud. I had to turn it down right here. And it's kind of doing the same thing over and over again. If you were to add, like, let's say a washout or a reverb, that's at super high settings at the beginning, so it's washed out, and then we slowly get drier and drier towards the drop, and as soon as the drop hits, everything gets dry and goes straight into your face. We do a huge transition using an effect like that. Any type of movement similar to that is what we want to be doing in sections that are, you know, just static and repeating like this. I think that is about it. EQing, mixing, mastering, making sure we tame muddy frequencies and harsh frequencies is always important. So keep those things in mind. This is pretty decent though. Nice heavy basses, crazy flow. As soon as things sit together in the mix better, it's going to be even better. It almost sounds like reverb spaces are building up together. Like, check all your basses, make sure you're not accidentally stacking reverbs together, because it can get really out of control once we start to turn everything up in these heavier songs. But overall, that's done. Dandy. Good job. Next up, Lanky Bones. Lanky Bones, are you in the chat right at this second? You at this sec? Right at the second. Capiche? Yo, what up, Capiche? Classic. Oh my gosh, that's Capiche, man. I'll tell you what. Larry Swags, aka Maximilian, he's number one. All right, let's go ahead and get into Nar, Two Twins, Lanky Bootleg. Run it. We're live on Twitch and YouTube. You're tuned into 90.9.
Down. What? Is that all you can muster?
Oh.
No.
And that is spicy. Who the hell came in here and threw in that bang into this? I gotta say, you posted 2 submissions in the Discord, and I'm happy that we picked this one. The heavy, dirty, grungy rhythm square basses that you're making sound sick. And it's just nice to see great flow and call and response happening with that dope square bass as a call. The transitions, though, like from the end like into that's a very abrupt transition. It's almost like we're just pressing play on a new song that really should be cleaned up. You want it to be, presentable, right? Think of it, we're at the club, we're DJing, we want these transitions to be unlocked, so that transition is pretty important. We want it to be less abrupt for sure. And oh my god, at the intro, I mean, the song sounded pretty messed up at the intro. Super muddy, sounds blown, distorted, doesn't sound clean at all. We got to be in balance with the amount of distortion that we have. We want, just think of it, old SoundCloud, hip hop days, we would blow out these 808s. Distortion is part of this. Having that blown sound is part of it too, but we have to find the balance. Think of just blowing the saturator up to the extreme. It sounds too much, so we have to dial it back down. You just got to dial it back down in that intro. It's a little bit too crazy. Drop sounds good, though. I really like it. I was vibing to it. And most importantly, this fucking transition's so sick right here.
What the? Way to let me down. What? Is that all you can muster? No.
Shit like that. Super creative. And hearing that at a festival or the club would make people go so crazy. So it's just super high energy vibes. And that shit be busting. Good job. Nicely done. Lanky. Man, you're ripping through, huh? Ripping through, Lanky Bones. Next up in line, Armageddon. Clean up. What we cleaning, dog? You gonna tell me right now what we cleaning? Because we may be cleaning up some of them frequencies.
No choice when I say that I'm gonna clean up.
Clean.
Clean up. Clean up. Clean up. No choice when I say that I'm gonna clean up. Clean up. Clean up. No choice when I say that I'm gonna clean. Clean up. Clean up.
Two aisles fell down in the grocery store. It's about to clean up. We got to get our clean on. I got to say, this was super loud. I had to turn it down just to listen to this at a high level. You know, there's two different types of loud. -3 LUFS really is the loudest we need to go. But when we're there, we want to be able to have all the harsh frequencies tamed, all the muddy frequencies. As we get louder, things start to distort, harsh frequencies start to get pulled out. A lot of problems arise once we start to compress and saturate and get things louder. So we got to clean up. Simply add EQs, clean up those harsh frequencies. Look at this soothe, for example. When we're playing the song and I turn the soothe on, it's doing the auto cleanup. Plain and simple, automatic cleanup. This is like Superman's maid getting the cleanup on in the Superman mansion. Look at the drop. All these frequencies are being affected. We want to be, basically, we have to be aware of the Fletcher-Munson curve and how our ear has its own natural EQ. It's turning up frequencies. We perceive different frequencies at different levels. So it's going to affect the way that we produce these songs and engineer these songs. You keep that in mind, it's going to help as you mix these songs up. There's a lot of harsh basses, a lot of high frequencies. It sounds like multiple basses are playing together and they're competing for space. So there's not a lot of room to breathe. We just need to do a little bit more cleanup in the frequency spectrum and kind of push things in the back, reduce the volume. We really are going past -3 LUFS and ending to like -2. So it's just way too loud. We have to start with each individual track and make sure they're all proper and look at the compression settings. We don't want to over compress either. Look at how, like if the dry and wet's at 100% on the OTT, that's something you should reconsider or maybe turn that down to 69 naturally. Do a little bit of that cleanup. Let me know if you have any questions about that. Mixing and mastering is a big, critical part that we start to do at the advanced stages. So it gets difficult, but we can always do it. Next in line, Kala, Dog Pit. Oof. Tell you what, Dog Pit. It was Peck said, holy shit to that soothe. I'll tell you what, man. For real. All right, cool. That's dog pit, Kala. Now, the idea of a dog pit, very nice, very solid. But the execution here feels a bit like it's almost like the basses don't have enough flow because we're having a lot of sounds play, but it's like they're playing at the same time and they're fighting for space. Multiple speeds, multiple basses, they're all playing at the same time, but there's only one spotlight. And one of those basses needs the spotlight while all the others support it or blend well with it. There needs to be some type of structure going on here in the layering process. And then also in the call and response and the flow. We're kind of repeating the same things pretty quickly over and over again. And we need to extend the flow. A 4-bar phrase is what you need to be working in. And there needs to be a lot of different simple movements within the 4-bar phrase. Call, response, fill. Watch my call response video so that you can start studying that, practicing that. And then the mix is super, super loud. I have to turn it down to even listen to it. We're going past -3 LUFS. Things are just way too loud. Once we zoom out, you can see your waveform starts to brick. And we're just losing all of our dynamics here. Things start to sound thin, not full, not as powerful. So we just have to be careful when we're pushing things this loud. We gotta be clean and loud at the same time. Can't be harsh. And we can't be over compressing because over compressing will lead to things like this. Keep those things in mind. -2 LUFS, too loud. Stay around -3. Even -3 is too loud. Just try to hover from -6 to -3. You gotta make it good. I think I got missed in the fold. My submission should be between 4925 and only 4925 and only. We'll get your submission, Toxic Toes. Can you write in what it was called? Y'all bringing them left tonight. I know Herbivore is right. Everyone's songs are super loud. You know, that's one of the hardest problems when you first start producing is getting things loud enough, presentable. We can't go overboard. Everything is about balance. Life is balance. The dog pit balance. That's a dog. That song got that dog in it. All right. Next in line. No more fun and games. Good job, Kala. Dog pit. Chronic Stubs, Flowers. That was his second submission. Goat Dubs is up next with Tog and Goat Dubs Arc. Toxic Toast, which one is yours? I don't see yours. Let me know. Goat Dubs up next. Tog, and Goat Dubs Arc. Longer version. Interesting. But a long version. Peanut butter jelly. Peanut butter and jelly the long way. Let's go. Hands up for 99.
I will make you suffer. Make you suffer. You suffer. make you suffer. Make you suffer. I will make you suffer. Make you suffer.
And we're gonna run back the second drop for you boys that got hit with the ads, man. Let's run it.
I will make you suffer. Make you suffer. I will make you suffer. Make you suffer.
That was heavy. That was sick. Hogue or Tog, Goat Dubs, Arc. That's what we like to see. Very clean mixing. Super loud, but clean. I can turn it up a lot while being at -3 LUFS. And that's the type of shit I'm looking for, you know? I want to be able to know that I could really turn that thing up and blast it, which is going to be important in the club when we just blast it on our CDJs. Just turn that thing up. We blast it through the roof. Okay. Super heavy. The first drop was very unique. It kept changing and the energy was super good all the way to the end of the drop. Once we get to the second drop here, this rhythm and flow and tone feels like we've already heard it before. It's just not as surprising. And since it's looping over and over in these 4 bars, it gets a little bit old, a little bit stale. Thank God you changed it up in the halfway point here on the second drop, because this is bringing it all back. Sounds new again. We're surprised. All these new higher frequency just sounds dirty, you know? So I would just make the beginning of the second drop a little bit more unique, maybe change some more tones, rhythms, anything like that. First drop sounded nice. Take out is great. His intro, though, like about 15 seconds, which is a long time because your drop happens at 30 seconds. This first 8 needs to be a little bit more noticeable. It's super quiet, barely there. So maybe just make it, add something, you know, maybe some atmosphere or some crazy thing that can fill up all the available space that's here because of the filter. I think that's about it. It's a really good song, you know. And I said, oh yeah, the Make You Suffer vocals towards the end. We've said Make You Suffer a lot in the second drop, so it's just sounding super repetitive, and you gotta switch up that Vox for sure. Only a couple times. Make You Suffer. All right, nicely done. Next up in line, we got Binky with April 9th, 2025. Hey.
But I like it too.
Shout out to all y'all.
I'm wasting away, it's true. But I like wasting time with you.
Feels good, Luxito. Toxic Toast said, I feel too poor to listen to this song. Some dude drinking champagne in a Lambo is definitely blasting this while driving down Malibu. It was some vibes, man. Those are some expensive designer sunglasses vibes. Shopping at Louis Vuitton, at Bal Harbor. We have nothing to say. Good vibes, honestly. Nice vibey. It's you on a journey, very emotional. You got good groove. There are some things that need to be improved on. Like when we're in the drop, we want there to be a lot of impact. We want there to be a lot of energy and a lot of dynamics. The difference between loud and quiet is important. Things need to be loud for a second and then quiet for a second and then back to loud. These dynamic shifts are what I'm talking about. Your bass, the main bass in the drop here. It's good, but it's playing too much. It's almost like a blabbermouth, just talking over and over. Everyone's like trying to chill, take a chill. This guy's just talking constantly when all he needs to do is just talk a little bit and everyone enjoys him in the space. If that bass talks and then space opens up without him talking, we add another bass that's maybe different, a little bit more minimal, and then we can have a conversation start between that bass and another sound. And the synths and the melodies, the melodics in the background is like setting up a great foundation for everything to sit upon. And it's cool. It adds a lot of movement and feeling. But that main bass just doing the same thing for too long is having just not as much impact. You know, need to gotta feel the flow. These transitions are important too over here. When this came in, I I thought a proper transition was about to happen, build up, and then boom, drop. But you kind of just threw us into the drop instead of transition properly. So the timing of this just happened too fast. There needs to be build up elements. There needs to be another pre-drop. All that helps a lot with the energy and the transition and adding impact to the second drop. This lasts very long too. So towards the end, it's starting to lose a lot of energy. It lasts very long. There's not like a main lead. This main bass is kind of in the background or filtered out. So it's just not up front. And it's like, no one really has the spotlight right now. Things are moving. Things sound a little bit filtered. So it's just not full frequency wise. Things to think about. Undoubtedly. Overall, nicely done. Got me grooving and moving. And you know, that's the main thing about this is dance music. This ain't chill music. It's dance music. Next in line, Zack Attack. Hit him with the venom. Hit him with the venom. Okay, let's see it. Unfathomable. It's kicked.
So give me what you got. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, don't mess up the plot. Yeah,
Hey.
then we bless up the lot. Run up the beat, give it all I've got. Now they're gonna know my name. Got star when I got that game. It's life we play, so raise a glass and get crazy. So give me what you got. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, don't mess up the plot. Yeah,
Hey.
then we bless up the lot. Run up the beat, give it all I've got. So give me what you got. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, don't mess up the plot. Yeah, then we bless up the lot. Run up the beat, give it all I've got. 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 Give it all I've got. Keep it quiet. Hit it with a venom and a gun and a with it, with it, venom, with it, with it, venom. Hit it with it, with it, with it, venom. Hit it with it, with it, with it. Hit it with a venom and a gun and a venom and a. Hit it with a venom and a gun and a.
Hit him with a hit him with a venom.
So give me what you got. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, don't mess up the plot. Never bless up the lot. Run up the beat, give it all I've got.
All I got.
All I've got.
Where's my snake?
All I've got. All I've got. All I've got. All I've got. Give it all I've got.
Hit him with all I've got. Hit him with the venom. Get a king cobra. Throw the king cobra at your op. Boom. They go down. Because they got hit with the motherfucking venom. They got bit. Or maybe you're talking about something else. Maybe garden snake. Throw it. Nevertheless, we have some frequencies to discuss. I like these choirs here.
So give me what you got. Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
A lot, honestly. And when we get to the fake out, it sounds like we almost need them here.
Give it all I've got.
And the choirs can like slowly pitch away or fade away. And then boom, we get hit with the drop.
Keep it quiet. Hit it with a venom and a gun and a.
So this call section here is pretty decent.
Keep it quiet. Hit it with a venom and a.
But as soon as we get here,
Hit it with a venom and a gun and a.
things keep moving quickly. And it almost sounds like you're just randomly playing basses one after another rather than it being in a proper structure. we need these basses to be like extended or going super fast, like a stutter, like or a sustain. We need to elongate this bass so that they're not changing so quickly, because it's like we're changing the basses too quickly. We just need one bass to last a little bit.
Keep it quiet. Hit it with a bend.
So even this bass right here, you could repeat that bass over and over. We just need some type of consistency. We can't just be changing the sounds this quickly. Yeah, the basses just sound like they're going way too fast. We're losing flow. There's not much flow here for us to dance to. It's just basses turning on and off very quickly. Over here too, there's some issues with almost losing the flow.
Give it all I've got.
Yeah, these are pretty random, honestly. We're losing the danceable bounce and the groove that we've established here at the beginning. There's also a huge lack of sub. It's almost like just mid frequencies and a tiny little sub. We're making bass music, so really if there's just like a huge sub in here being blasted, like it's all about the bass and getting the sub and your mid basses and squishing them together, grouping them and saturating them together, or clipping them with a G clip together and making them start to get big and grungy and heavy is important. So just these sounds playing without a sub is lackluster. We need there to be heavy sub presence. Focus on that sub to get big. And just really work on flow. It's difficult to make flows when it's just an empty sandbox and you have to create something from scratch. So please use reference tracks. Learn how to bring the reference track into Ableton and learn from the pros. There's songwriting techniques. There's composition strategies and routines that you can get into so that you can keep practicing, because there's no reason to have this many different basses. There's only a couple different people in the family that we don't have to invite the whole choir to come in. Just need a couple different main characters in that drop so that things feel, new and different, but also feel cohesive. I want things to feel like they all fit together. Lastly, sound design. In the first drop, feels thin and weak, and you can tell that your basses are being washed out in your reverb. If you just throw the reverb on a bass, that's usually a no-go. You want to be doing it in parallel. You need to preserve the original mono signal and add a wide reverb signal and have them play together in parallel. That's the goal. You can do that in many different ways, and that will ensure that your bass is up front in the face, slick and full, mono, and then your other cool reverb, wet, spacey layer will be blending in perfectly with the original. If you don't do that, then the bass will lose its fullness and thickness and heaviness if it's being drowned out in some verbiage. So, control that verb, you get that verb, control that verb. You know what it is. Hit me up if you have any questions, Zach. You know what it is, my friend. Hit him with the venom. DJ Beef Queef is up next, and it's time. Coming in with, oh, really? Let's go ahead and listen in, see if we got anything for the win. Choirs and chocolates. Oh, really? 99.9. All right, cool. Lots of automations here. Pitch bend automations, BPM automations. It starts to mess with the track. The pitch bend automations are good and they should be happening in like build-ups, you know? But if they're happening during the main part of your song, things start to sound out of key and not in scale. It also doesn't sound like your second half is in scale. So just make sure you're writing in one key / scale and sticking to those notes. Because if we're just playing any random notes or trying to blend into different loops that are playing different scales, it's going to feel off and cause tension and dissonance, which we don't need. The sustain in like this section, it's just playing like nothing's really happening here, and it gets very low energy. So there's nothing really here to dance to, and it doesn't feel too good either because we're just kind of sustaining it and it's not moving. If you add more movement, add more dynamics, like more silence, it's going to help a lot in sections like that. You want to add flow and groove and keep things moving. It's also a little bit empty in the drop here because there's not really a main bass. Sub is a little bit weak and it's just kind of being sustained, following everything. If you have more basses that are like growling and opening and evolving and having lat play with all your other sounds, should be good because all your other sounds are like high frequency. So there's a lack of low mid frequencies, those grungy low mids that we need. So you're going to want to make some basses, find some growls, and start to finish filling out the frequency spectrum so that it's, real thick and heavy or psychedelic and cool, and go either direction on that bass. I think that's about it on the Oh Really. Nicely done. Oh Really. Herbivore's up next with A Center for Kids Who Can't Read Good and drum and bass. Let's run that. Drum and who? Drum and what? Okay. Hodgepodge. Hello.
Shut up! Enough already, Ballstein! Who cares about Derek Zoolander anyway? The man has only one look, for Christ's sake! Blue Steel? Ferrari? Latifa? They're the same thing! Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills! I invented the piano key that time! I invented it! What have you done, Derek? Nothing! You've done nothing!
Nice. Lots of energy, lots of movement, cool basses, cool sound design. This is feeling nice. That roller bass is quiet though. And that's like a, main character, super low mids. It should be heavy. Boom, 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 boom. That's our main guy. So we sound a little bit quiet. Definitely pump that thing up, get that thing up there. But these different transitions and different sounds and basses are good. Make sure your sub is loud enough too. We need to be like around -10 LUFS. And it sounds like yours could be a little bit quiet. So we're going to check real quick. Yeah, we're going to look at the masters too to see how loud it was to begin with. Oh, so the song itself is pretty quiet at -9. So you want to turn up the song to get it to like a nice -8, -6 around there. And then the sub should be going up with it. Let's see what the sub's at now. So you can see the sub right here on the volume meter. It's slow, lots of headroom available. The kick is a lot louder than the sub. So we just want to have a lot more focus on these low frequencies, make sure that they're pumped at saturation or a kick tight to the sub and take off everything else. And then that's all we really need to pump up that sine wave, get that thing rolling. This is nice, like this. Good job, Revor.
Blue Steel? What have you done, Derek?
I like the Will Smith. Will Smith, Will Ferrell vocal. Who does the Will Smith vocal? You know what I'm saying? Herbivore coming in. Nicely done. Waver Trunks Archives is next. What song was this? Sinner Unmixed Demo by Trunks is next. Let's get it done.
Ring, ring. Hello, what's that?
Cool. That was Trunks. I gotta say, this is kind of all over the place. There's a lot of different things that need improvement here. Some of the main things are timing, structure issues, like the timing of the drums in the build-up, for example, are off and feel stiff and a little bit awkward. The timing and transitions from the intro to phrases like this.
Ring, ring.
It's kind of almost like the song stops. You know, there's a lot of odd timing and structure issues here. If you need to, you can bring in a reference track and see how your favorite artist is structuring and timing and setting up everything, because we need things to flow and transition properly. That's not really happening here in your intro. When we get to the drop, it feels very weak because these drums are super tiny and the sub bass is in the wrong octave and the sub is too high. So we're not actually feeling any of the good sub bass. It's like a high octave sine wave and it's just not hitting. These drums are super, super small. Turn your drums up, find good samples, go onto Splice if you need to, find some EDM producers, download their samples. And lastly, we're going to need to work on some music theory here. The note choices and all the different changes between the pads and the saws and the sounds seem basic and repetitive, and we need to add more story, more pitch movement. That's going to help a lot because in the drop, we have these melodic sounds playing. We're going to want to brush up on our theory, make sure that you're using all the notes in your scale. There's 7 notes that you're going to be memorizing and mastering. And then lastly, just call and response. I already said lastly, but we're going to do 2 lastlies. Call and response. Watch my call and response video and start to add more movement and more flow and groove in here so that we can add more energy. But get those drums fat, get that sub in octave 0. That's what's going to be helping a lot. You already know what it is. And reference tracks. Type in Dripment reference track and you'll find my video on it. It's going to help a lot. Next in line, last in line, Scaniel. AIA whip. Just run it. Nice, this is pretty sick. I do have to add a soothe to it though for me to be able to turn it up enough. You need to use this soothe. It's going to help a lot. You have a lot of harsh, loud frequencies, and adding the soothe will reduce them automatically. We go down 1 luff, but that's totally fine. You got some good flow here. It sounds nice. We're pretty bricked up. You're probably over compressing. Just double check. We really don't want things to get cut off in the waveform, so you're always going to be double checking for that also. And then overall energy was very high. Yeah, the sub sounds nice, and it sounds like all the frequencies are filled, so it's full, which is good. Definitely make a sick intro. Your drops are always good. Sounds really like you're going to need to start composing these full songs, dark, heavy, epic intros to then transition into this craziness. We'll finish it off. I'd want to see that out of you for sure. This is heavy. This is good. Reduce those harsh frequencies. Keep up the flows. And send some longer tracks, my boy. We gotta get them long tracks. I like this section. Very good. Awesome. If you guys need feedback on your tracks, please submit to my Discord and hashtag live wip-feedback. I will see you guys on Monday. That is when the stream happens, every Monday. Otherwise, hit me up if you have any questions. I do 1v1 lessons as well. So if you need direct help, I'm doing these lessons every day. So schedule, book, we can get it in and make sure that you are learning as quickly and efficiently as possible. Keep it real all day. I will see you guys soon and keep on making them bangers. Thank you guys for the support, and I love to see y'all in the chat. See you soon. Peace.